Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. We're carrying on with this updated series of videos on the dome, and I've created several iterations and developed it slightly. I've now included the bottom foot that looks awfully chunky and big, but that's for a multi-purpose where rather than the 4-inch or 100mm depth timbers and 50mm wide or 2-inch wide, it's where you can use a doubled up timber or a heavy timber in itself in the section size, so 100 by 100 or a 4 by 4. That's because as you go up in span, of course, the stresses on the timber become much greater, and the greater chance for these struts to deflect because of their increased span, especially over time, and especially if there's no other component tying it together with other struts. The other option, of course, is to go deeper. So you'd stay with the 2-inch wide or 50mm wide and go 50mm deeper, a 6 by 2 or 150 by 50 timber, or deeper as the spans go up. But the problem with natural timber rather than engineered timber is that those greater spans will likely have deflection sideways because of the narrow section size. That's normal, isn't it? So you can either fatten them up so you make a more square, which is actually probably preferable, sections of the timber, or you go deeper. The deeper doesn't really address the deflection as well as a fatter timber. A 4x4, 100 by 100 will have less deflection than a 150 by 50, of course, because you're still maintaining the 50mm thickness. Hey, so I actually had created a heavier comparative section size for the dome, and this was the plate for it, and rather than creating a second plate, I've decided just for now to allow the plate to be drilled in the center line of it between these other two holes to take the 50mm only thick strut. Very wordy, wasn't it? Okay, I have started to label the base or a plane with the information relative to the dome that we're working on, because I was finding that sometimes I'd go back to look at a previous drawing and I wasn't too sure what the heck it was for. It was obviously apparent at the time of creating it, but as time moves on and memory, of course, playing a role, it seemed to be more prudent to label it so that it becomes a memory jogger. And this one here says lowered hubs. This is where the original hub, actually I just might turn them on. Where are they? Hubs, original position, were located, and their top surface, or the center line, was where the wire frame would come up and be generated. Of course, that's only relevant to the geometry of the dome that that underlies the dome, and it's got nothing to do with the hub itself. So, but I wanted to have a place to start, so I'll get rid of those. This one has just been lowered for the tangent point here, where it's lowered until it touches the top of the strut, and that way there's no interference with anything that we may put on it afterwards. Now that's fine in a few of the positions, but this position here and here for those two struts. But straight away as we start zooming in, we can see that if we come around, the hub still remains proud of the strut. Now you may ask yourself, well, that's hardly a problem, because if you were to drape a fabric over this, it would span from this strut to this strut and just miss this strut. That wouldn't be a problem, would it? Well, would it? Does it create a wear potential? We don't know. Same here, the hub is sticking up above this strut, but not above this strut. Or if so, it's only by a fraction of a millimetre. So, an irrelevance. However, if I drop the strut down 5 millimetres and do so on all of the struts, just for consistency, that question is removed, especially when we're dealing with, if someone decides they want to create an overbatten or something, we don't want the hub getting in the way of its placement. So simply by dropping these down 5 millimetres, we eliminate one of those little what ifs. If we put in the polythene layer, you can see that the hub, if this shaded area here is the polythene, well, this hub is effectively pushing up against it. So if the plastic was pinned down firmly, it might cause a problem. But I come back to the point that it would be draping across the higher points of the timber, and that wouldn't be that much of an issue. It's a circular argument almost, or question. But because we want to eliminate any potential, dropping at 5 millimetres seems irrelevant. It also means it's consistent. The question is, do you drop it only for the ones that has a problem? And I'm going, well, look, just keep it, lower it, build one. If it's not a problem, it's not a problem, rather than building one and leaving it high and it became one. The only advantage I can see of leaving some of them in place is the relative, sorry for zooming out like that, but the relative position that the bolts or pins would be, where they'd locate. I don't know that there's an answer for that, other than it's a subjective one. We can make a choice and just run with it. If we decide to put the bolts in 25 millimeters down, do we do it 25 millimeters? Oh, sorry about that panning. Do we put it 25 millimeters down here, or do we only make it down from the top surface of the hub? So that way the hub drill points stay the same, and it's only in the wood that they alter in their height by 5 millimeters. I can't really answer that. I've mulled it over before, and for every reason for one method, there's one the opposite for the other, or benefit for the other. So keeping the hubs drilled at the same height does seem to make sense. It would be easier to do that. Don't know. Okay, so this is where we're at the moment. We just wanted to touch back with a shortish video rather than the big long one that I made showing the drawing of it, which I may actually redraw or redo so that you can see it a little bit more concisely. Okay, so we've moved on. I actually just showing you the points that we're making here. This was the heavy 4x4 struts. It was just a double strut side by side, and for the purposes of the exercise, and it showed, oh sorry about that, it shows you that some of these will have to be docked down on the angles to permit them to nestle in. I don't want to shorten them, because then we have the issue with the hub being a different size. which would not be what I want to do. So these will have to have an angle put on them. I think to make a hub big enough to accommodate this, it would be quite a size. Anyway, that's it. Starting to wander off topic, if there ever was one. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.